For this main video, it's worth saying explicitly at the start that the obvious actual goal is to achieve happiness, not misery. But you, like me, might find the advice on happiness kind of tiresome, almost irritating. So it might be more useful to think about how to achieve the opposite, and thus to see how the actions we might take work against us. And happiness is a topic that is unusually well suited to this mental inversion. My dear viewers, do not take the main video as literal advice. I want all of you to find your own happiness, and that's why I made this video. Good luck.
Again and again and again, Trump has taken real problems, but manageable problems, which he has then turned into disasters. All of it is Trump recklessly, impulsively endangering his own presidency. And in doing, he has reminded Republicans what they feared a Trump presidency would be like. Unconstitutional, unfocused, chaotic, scandal-plagued, and damaging to both America's standing in the world and the GOP's brand at home. I'm not saying Trump is about to be impeached. There's a long way between here and there. Republicans still see that as a calamity for their party. But this is a moment in which the tectonic plates that underlie political opinion in Washington are shifting. It's a moment in which the unthinkable is being thought, announced, and perhaps even hastened.
Bob, the only thing I can say is I think we've seen this movie before. I think it's reaching the point where it's of Watergate size and scale and a couple of other scandals that you and I have seen.
If what's in his public memo is true, would those allegations be grounds for impeachment?
If the allegations are true, yes.
Donald Trump is doing this all himself. Trump's feud with the intelligence agencies began in earnest after the CIA concluded that Russia had interfered in the 2016 election to help Trump win. Trump could have just been angry at Russia. He could have said it's bad that a foreign government is interfering in American elections. Instead, he turned his ire on the CIA. And then this happened.
Terrible. Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped, that's in quotes, in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism.
There's no evidence for his claims, and unusually, the heads of the FBI and the NSA refuted him during sworn congressional testimony.
Director Comey, was the president's statement that Obama had his wires tapped in Trump Tower a true statement?
With respect to the president's tweets about alleged wiretapping directed at him by the prior administration, I have no information that supports those tweets, and we have looked carefully inside the FBI.
Michael Flynn told Don McGahn in early January that he was under federal investigation for his work on behalf of Turkey throughout the campaign.
Of course, Trump named Flynn National Security Advisor anyway, because why not have an agent of a foreign government as your National Security Advisor? And then there's a story that dominated the news.
There's word tonight that President Trump may have jeopardized a secret source of intelligence on the Islamic State group. The Washington Post is reporting that the president divulged highly sensitive information when he met with the Russian foreign minister and Russian ambassador last week.
That means that whatever Trump said made it possible for the Russians to figure out where the intelligence was coming from, which in turn means it's possible Israel will lose a key source of information on ISIS because of Trump's actions. So investigations and calls for investigations have swirled around Trump since the beginning of his administration, but congressional Republicans found it reasonably easy to ignore them.
The point I was trying to make is I don't think there needs to be a political or a politicized investigation. Law enforcement is always free to investigate people they think broke the law. So if someone broke the law here, and I'm still not aware of what law was broken or who broke it, but if they did, we have mechanisms for trying people in the courts. But I don't want a politicized investigation here that detracts from doing the things that we need to do.
First, Trump asked Comey to stop investigating Michael Flynn. He also asked Comey to announce publicly that Trump was not under investigation. Comey refused both requests, and in addition, he took notes on both encounters. Then Trump fired Comey, and he fired him over the FBI's investigation into the Trump campaign's contacts with Russia. The timing of the firing, it was bizarre, and the way it was handled alienated both Comey and the FBI. This too was a problem Trump created for himself. But there was a quasi-reasonable explanation for Comey's firing. And the White House, Trump's White House, tried to offer it. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who's pretty widely respected, they said had reviewed Comey's handling of the controversial Clinton email case, and they concluded his credibility was now compromised. Fair enough. People didn't quite believe it, but it had a shred of truth to it. But then Trump destroyed it, telling NBC's Lester Holt,
regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey. I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. It's an excuse by the Democrats for having lost an election that they should have won.
No one made Trump do this. And then no one made Trump in an Oval Office meeting with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the same meeting where he gave up that intelligence. Nobody made him brag about firing Comey.
The latest bombshell, a New York Times report that the president told Russian officials in an Oval Office meeting earlier this month that firing Jim Comey as FBI director removed great pressure on him.
Quote, I just fired the head of the FBI. He was crazy. A real nut job. I faced great pressure because of Russia. That's taken off.
I don't know why you would do that. What would possess a human being in Trump's position to do that? Some things cannot be explained. Notes from that meeting were subsequently leaked to the New York Times, and Press Secretary Sean Spicer confirmed the account. The remarkable thing, looking back on the timeline, is that none of it was necessary. Trump could have simply treated Comey well and tried to win him over as an ally while offering bland statements of support for his work. As recently as 2 weeks ago, Republicans thought it safer not to know the crimes Trump may have committed or the lines he may have crossed. Today, the GOP is facing the grim reality that Trump is not disciplined enough and the bureaucracy he leads is not loyal enough to keep his misdeeds hidden. Some Republicans, not all, are concluding that the truth will emerge, as it appears to be doing now. So they may as well be the patriots who uncovered it rather than the hacks who suppressed it. And that, more than anything, is what endangers Donald Trump's presidency.
While I was in Japan, I got my hands on a Japanese history textbook. But this isn't an ordinary Japanese textbook. It's a very political one. And if you look inside, you'll see a version of history that is very different than the one the world knows. An example is the Nanking Massacre, the 1938 event in which Japanese troops murdered tens of thousands of Chinese civilians. To the world, this massacre is considered one of the most infamous war crimes committed by the Japanese during their takeover of Asia. But in this textbook, it basically gets no attention. It's referred to as the Nanking Incident. And the only attention it gets in this book is basically disputing the facts. There's no mention of the hundreds of thousands of Korean women who were forcibly brought over to serve in brothels on the front lines of the Japanese wars. They're these comfort women that are a huge part of Japanese history, but they don't show up in this book. When I was in Tokyo for a border story, I actually visited the people who publish and write this book. It's this group of old Japanese men who are part of this lobbying society that basically try to push a different historical narrative into Japanese schools, and they've been quite successful. This textbook publishing society is one of many expressions of a rising nationalism in Japan. This is Makoto Sakurai. He's the public face for the Japan First Party. This group launched just a month after another right-wing faction across the Pacific Ocean took power of the White House, proclaiming a like-minded message.
America first! America first!
Within the first 5 minutes of my interview with Sakurai, and even through a translator, I could tell that this guy would get along great with Donald Trump.
でその都知事選の一番最後のですね、った時にものすごい人だかりで、フェイクニュースがもう横行してるんですよ。
Sakurai's Japan First Party hasn't won any elections yet, but other nationalists in Japan have, including Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in 2012.
皆さん、日本を取り戻さなくてはならない。
He has surrounded himself with advisors and ministers from some of these fringe groups who are now influencing policy. Up until now, these guys, and yes, most of them are guys, have been known for driving around in their decked-out vans, preaching the restoration of Japan's pre-World War II greatness. Their agenda is similar to nationalist movements in other countries. They want to restore a strong military, They call for the deportation of Koreans and a limitation to the little immigration that Japan even has. I chased after these guys and filmed them for an afternoon, watching them spar with the Tokyo police.
欧米のね、あなたたちに言ってもなかなか理解はされないでしょうけれども、日本型の民主主義なんですね。天皇という存在が一番頂点にあって、でそれで何千年も日本という国は運営されてきたわけです。
This yearning for a return to some ill-defined golden age is the basis of many far-right nationalist movements around the globe.
世界中の子どもたちはもう本当にもう誇り満々として自分の国の国自慢をしますけれども、日本の子どもはそれができない、そういうふうにまで日本は洗脳されています。
En réalité, on a appris à nos enfants qu'ils avaient toutes les raisons de la critiquer, de n'en voir que peut-être les aspects historiques les plus sombres.
The main historical fixation of these nationalists is the 1860s, when Japan underwent a massive transformation, giving the emperor lots of power which he used to rapidly educate the people, grow the economy, and develop a massive military. Japan became an economic and military powerhouse in just a few years. And over the following decades, they did what powerful countries did back then. They started expanding, committing horrific atrocities like mass genocide in the process. By the mid-1900s, this aggressive expansion brought Japan into a natural alignment with Hitler's Germany, who was doing the same thing in Europe. And then, at the height of the Japanese Empire,
the bomb was exploded above the city, and in the towering mushroom, Japan could read its doom.
The US and Allied powers won the war. They came in, dismantled Japan's military, and wrote them a new constitution that ensured they'd never get so powerful again. To the nationalists, this was the moment that everything was lost. Japan was brought to its knees, stripped of the pride and national values thousands of years in the making, emasculated by these Western powers who were now occupying their country.
あなたたちのご先祖さんたちがたった1週間で日本の憲法を作り、そしてアホなことに日本のその人間が70年以上にわたってこの憲法を守り続けている。
アメリカに逆らえないような国民を作るということでは大成功を収めてしまったと。
In Tokyo, there's this huge controversial shrine called Yasukuni. It's where all the people who died in the wars under the emperor are memorialized, including all those who died in World War II. After Japan lost the war, a huge trial was held. Thousands were convicted of war crimes and thrown into jail, and even some were hanged. And what's tricky about this very beautiful shrine that I'm walking through is that over 1,000 of those war criminals are enshrined here and are prayed to every day. But a lot of Japanese people have a different narrative about what happened after the war. According to this narrative, the tribunals after World War II were not an impartial exercise of justice, but rather an emotional backlash against the atrocities that had just occurred during the war. So the fact that they're here in Yasukuni doesn't bug a lot of these people. In fact, they revere them and they worship them for their sacrifice to the emperor. All of the symbolism and memorials point to a glorification of the imperial period, not necessarily an apology for it. The shrine is at the symbolic heart of the nationalist narrative, censoring any mention of atrocities and glorifying the imperial age as worthy of restoration. Upon leaving the shrine, I come across a right-wing group that was visiting the shrine to pay tribute to the spirits. So it's tempting to draw parallels with what's happening in Japan with nationalism and what we see happening in the US and Europe with figures like Donald Trump. But while that parallel works for a little bit, it breaks down really quickly. And the differentiating factor that is the most important for understanding the difference is a word that we've heard a lot lately.
Populism.
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 Many of these movements in the US and in Europe have been led by outsiders, populists, who want to dismantle the establishment. In Japan, that's not the case. People like Shinzo Abe are through and through establishment politicians. There isn't a disruptive figure who's coming in from the outside and winning elections. While the rise of right-wing nationalism is similar between Japan and the United States and the West, it's still fundamentally quite different. And it appears that the rise of a Japanese Donald Trump is still a ways off.
But Bill, isn't it a problem when science guys attempt to bully other people? I mean, it's not working with the public.
Well, it says about tornadoes. That's the same thing. Yeah, sea level.
This is how conversations about climate change often go down. Scientists say climate change is real, but people still doubt them. So why isn't the science enough? It's not like there's a shortage of scientific facts.
Hey guys, what's up? Scale here, and I'm bringing you guys another mod showcase for Arma. Now, a lot of you probably have already heard of this mod. It's called the Extended Base mod for Exile, and what it does is it adds a bunch of base pieces to Exile. I've played in a few servers that have it, and it's a pretty cool mod to have, mainly because it brings in a lot of base parts from like Arma 2, Epoch, and Overpoch that I haven't personally seen in a while. I'm mainly talking about camo nets and sandbags and stuff like that, but it's also got a really big set of other cool things that add some variety to what people can build and could really lead to some cool looking bases. So we're going to take a look at everything this mod has to offer, and then once we're done with that, we're going to try and blow stuff up and see how destructible everything is, because apparently everything is destructible. So obviously, depending on the server you play on, some things might not be. But again, it's all up in the air, so let's just start off in the back of us right here. We'll start with this sandbag thing, and we'll end at that giant military tower. So obviously, here we've got the camoed sandbag tower. Just jump right up here. You can climb up and down through the ladder, and it's camoed. Yeah, if you couldn't tell already. You know, mount your gun here, shoot some people. It'd be really fun to put on your base and maybe just camping. Yeah, I could see myself camping in that quite a bit. Then we've got some H barriers. I was going to say sandbag barriers. They are H barriers. We've got the 5, the 3, and the 1. So those are pretty nice. I would definitely use these to put around the outskirts of my base to make it so people couldn't hide up against it and I couldn't shoot them. So those would definitely come in handy for me personally. We've got the rock wall or stone wall. Then we've got the CNO barrier. Those are always fun. We've got a water cooler. Now I'm assuming you can fill water bottles with this, but this kind of loses its functionality, seeing as how Exile already added in a water barrel, so you know, it's kind of pointless to have at this point, because you can just craft one with 5 empty water bottles in the actual mod itself. But of course they didn't know that when they were making that. here we've got ladders. Now, ladders are definitely something we haven't seen in Exile at all, really. So this is definitely something I could use personally. I've seen other people using them as well, so yeah, give me ladders, please, Exile devs. I really want them. We've got a gate. You can open and close it, each door separately. Nope, okay, I guess I can't open that one. We've got a little ammo crate you can put in your base, have a little fun with it, you know, those are always cool. These are the sandbags I was talking about. You've got a corner sandbag, which I have personally never seen before, so that's pretty awesome. And then you've got the regular sandbags you can place down. Definitely nice for putting on top of your base, and then, you know, making like a little gap you can peek out of with camo nets above them so people can't see you, and then you just kind of shoot at them. It's really nice. We've got a military crate, military cargo, I don't know, cargo outpost small, yeah. It's all rusty, so those are always cool to have, a nice rusty tin house to hide inside of. Then we've got another sandbag, what's it called? I'm pointing at it, it's not showing me. Sandbag bunker small, yes. I'd personally rather use that one over there, or even the one behind it right there, but these are pretty cool. You've got your hobo shack, slum container. So you're living in the slums, or you don't really have much, and you just want to have a little house with only one window to peek out of. This container is for you. Now we've got this really weird thing. This pretty much acts as a safe. I would have much preferred this to act as some sort of vehicle storage, like that lifts up and you can put vehicles and stuff inside it and then lock it. That would be pretty cool, but I guess using it as a safe or safe storage is also pretty awesome, so there's that. Then you've got these lovely little barriers you can use. These are like the H barriers, except you can climb on top of them and shoot over them unless the person's, you know, right up against it here, then you can't really see them, but yeah, so you've got that corner one, the 6 length, and then the 4 length, so those are pretty nice. These are something that confused me when it said cinder walls. I got excited and I was like, oh my god, they put in cinder walls in this extended base mod. That's going to be really cool. Maybe we can actually build with cinder walls and stuff. But no. When they say cinder walls, they mean just these regular walls taken from the game itself and then made so you can use them with the Exile building system. So, fuck you for tricking me, game. And then we've got this, which goes along with those H barriers over there. It's like an H barrier tower. I would personally never use this because it's extremely difficult to see out of, especially right in the front. You really can't see shit. If you crouch, you can't see shit. It's just really, really shitty. I wouldn't use that ever. Then you've got this crate that you cannot lock. You can't lock these, but you can store things in them, I guess. I don't really know why you'd use that when you can just use an ammo crate or something like that, but yeah, that's there. Ramps. Ramps are always nice to have. Ramps are pretty cool. If you ever have trouble getting your vehicles up into your base because you're on a defilade or something, just use a ramp. We've got a variety of shelves here. We've got the red shelf, the yellow shelf, and then the cooler thing. Yeah, I don't know if when you put things in them, if they show up on the shelves themselves or not, but it's a shelf, it's storage, it works, you know, why not? We have more gates with the left door not opening. Got a cool sign. I actually really like this sign. I would definitely put this in front of my base to warn off some noobs from trying to come and raid me or something like that. And we've even got a gate. I would definitely use this too, because, you know, then they have to get out of their car and like open it or something, I guess. I don't know how indestructible it is, but hopefully they wouldn't just be able to run into it and knock it over. We've got the pier. This thing's a pain in the ass to build because when you're building it, it like shoots up in the sky and it's crazy weird to use, but it's still pretty cool. You can use a pier to run around in, I guess. I don't know why you use that for a base, but it's there. We've got the huge concrete wall, 4 meters high. Not bad, not bad. Probably pretty indestructible. Those would be fun to use. I'm just going to go right here and we're going to look at all these camo nets really quick. You can clearly see they all look pretty cool. You've got the desert one there, the forest camo, and then the mixture right there, so those are definitely pretty awesome. Always love those things. We've got a tin wall. Probably never use this, especially since you can peek underneath and shoot feet. More shelves. We already went over those. We don't know if, you know, items will show up or not, but you can use it as storage. Cargo patrol tower with functioning everything. If I go inside, I can close the shutters and everything so people can't see me. You know, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Let me out of here. We've even got a little shooting range, so I mean, I don't really see any situation in which you'd need to use this, but I guess if you ever wanted to practice your shots in server, which is pretty dumb in my opinion, you can place this down and use it. Literally no use though. Both of these, the fuel pump and the fuel tank, or rusty tank, separately are both fuel sources you can use, as long as the servers actually put them in as fuel sources, so that's pretty nice. This is the same thing as the container over there. You use it for storage, you cannot lock it, and it's twice as long, so don't really see why you'd ever need to use it, but yeah, it's there. And then we've got the big, what is it, sandbag bunker big, so this is the bigger version of the sandbag bunker we were in before. I would probably use these because, I mean, they're bigger, they've got more walls, you could probably make a tiny base out of it if you wanted to. Those are pretty neato. And I'm not going to go into it, but last but not least, we've got the giant fucking military cargo tower that you could put on your base, military outpost big. No idea why you'd ever need one of those in your base when you could just actually build a tower yourself, like your own custom tower, so yeah, there's that. And, oh, last thing, I almost forgot, is the helipad. So you can make yourself a little helipad. It's cute. And I'd just like to note that the items in this safe did not work. I tried placing all 6 of these items and none of them appeared on my screen when I went to build them. I don't know if it's because I did something wrong when I put it in my server, or if they're just broken, but I'm just noting that they do not work for me. So if you can't place them down, sucks to suck, man, you know. But yeah, so I'm gonna get a GMG vehicle and we're gonna try to blow some shit up. Alright, so now we're just gonna try and blow shit up. So I've got a GMG Hunter right here, and we're gonna see how well everything blows up. So I will be right back. I'm not gonna record myself, you know, like throwing grenades for 20 minutes at these things. So I'll show you the aftermath. So after about blowing stuff up for a good 5 or 10 minutes straight, I've come up with the idea, or the conclusion, that the bigger it is, the harder it is to blow up. These shelves, believe it or not, are pretty indestructible. If you try to blow them up, they're probably just going to fly all over the place like they did here. Camo nets, they were gone within seconds. Those things were super easy to blow up. This thing didn't blow up, but the fuel pump exploded like almost instantly, so be careful with that thing. The sandbags are pretty fucking easy to blow up. The water cooler blew up pretty easily. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Everything else is pretty difficult to blow up, at least with this GMG anyway. You'd probably need satchels or something like that if you wanted to do some real damage to anything else. But yeah, overall, definitely a nice mod, something I'd like to have on a server. Like, you know, not something I would not play on a server for, but something I wouldn't mind having on a server without a doubt. If you want to try it out on a server, I'd recommend going on 80K Namalsk. They have it, and it seems to work pretty well for them. But yeah, besides that, thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, leave a like, it always helps. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and there are a bunch of other cool videos. And I'll catch you guys later.
Hey guys, Hunter here, and we're finally